Hi my dear friends, hopefully all of you fine and safe. I am also be fine and safe my dear. In the last class, we understood by discussing elaborately the concept of non-profit sector taxation if not qualified from exemption from the payment of GST. There we referred a trade union provide the services to its own members by collecting the fees, whatever may be the amount, irrespective of the amount, exempted. And also we referred in the last class by discussing elaborately, if you are a particular non-profit making organization or unincorporated body, as the case may be, provide these services which are basically exempted services to your own members, also be exempted from the payment of the GST. If you are a residential welfare association, in such case, being an unincorporated body or being a non-profit entity, provide these services to your own members like monthly maintenance, where per month, per member, per flat, rupees up to 7,500 exempted from the payment of GST. If exceeds, the entire value will attract the GST. And also we referred in the last class by discussing elaborately the concept of the service in relation to the welfare of industrial labor or agricultural labor or agricultural farmers, for welfare of them, forming an association, may be unincorporated body or a non-profit entity, where they are collecting the fees per year from each member, rupees 1,000 free from GST, 1,000 up to rupees 1,000 free from GST if that fees is per year basis. Or otherwise, if you are non-profit making organization or a particular unincorporated body, provide these services for welfare of trade, commerce, education, arts, culture or protection of environment, and collecting from the members, own members, per year, per member, 1,000 rupees, also exempted from the payment of GST. Now I am referring for a kind consideration, my dear sir, with ample of examples, a new sector called as construction sector, a emerging sector in the industry to tax. There are lot of amendments has been taken place under the construction services, which now I am going to present with the help of ample of examples by inviting first legislative history thereon and amended provisions. What is the law of the land today for taxing on construction sector under the GST? I am going to present, my dear friends, with ample of examples, numerics. Is clearer? Let us start. Now look on the screen, my dear sir. Services supplied by way of pure labor contract of construction, erection, commissioning, installation, completion, fitting out, repair, maintenance, renovation or alteration of a civil structure or any other original works pertaining to the beneficiary-led individual house construction or enhancement under the Housing for All Urban Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme, qualify from exemption. What is the important criteria here is, it must be a pure labor service under the scheme of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Housing for All Urban Mission scheme. If so, supplier exempted from the payment of the GST. How should I understand this? With one illustrative example on the screen is as follows. Before explaining such illustrative example, I would like to bring to a concept called, what do you mean by original works. It has its own meaning, original works, followed by beneficiary-led individual houses. Means what? I will explain, then I will go with some illustrations. Look on the screen for the term original works, which means all new constructions, which includes all type of additions and alterations to abandoned or damaged structures on land that are required to make them workable. Meaning what? Make them workable means, I will tell you. It is basically abandoned structure. Means left isolated, no one using that. For example, my dear, my great grandfather gifted to me one independent house in Chennai. We are not living there. Reason, 75% of the roof already gone away. Inside of the house, full and full ventilation because there is no proper doors and windows. Broken windows, broken doors. Heavy wind comes. That particular olden day structure shaking like this, but not falling. Then I wanted to give life to the structure. Rebuilt it from the foundation to the roof level, rebuilt it without demolishing it and painted with the Asian paints. For example, beautiful house now. Such type of activity also comes under original works. An abandoned structure, make it workable. Got the clarity? Further, original works includes erection, commissioning or installation of plant and machinery or equipment or structure, whether prefabricated or otherwise. So I mean to say that it may be a construction, new construction, or it may be original works, or it may be a repair of a housing project which comes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme, or which comes under Housing for All Urban Mission scheme. Absolutely qualify exemption where you provided pure labor services. That is important. If you provide works contract services where there is a labor also involved, in that case, that labor and material involved, in that case, such a works contract to such schemes also attract the GST. Be careful. I will explain here with the help of illustrative example is as follows. Assume a scenario. Residential houses constructed under the scheme of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Housing for All Urban Mission. Who constructed? Let us say DLF Limited being a builder undertaken to construct pure labor services under the scheme of Housing for All Urban Mission, if not Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme. Now you tell me, such services supplied by DLF Limited being a supplier of service, being a supplier of service, he provides what type of services? Pure labor services to the scheme which falls under Housing for All Urban Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme. Now tell me, such a pure labor construction services of housing project comes under affordable scheme. Is it taxable or exempted? Absolutely exempted in the hands of builder. Therefore, I can say that exempted from the payment of GST. Exempted from GST. Got the clarity, my dear friends? Any difficulty? Suppose, on the other hand, DLF Limited provided work contract services, where you are aware of that it includes material plus labor. We called work contract service, which is not a pure labor service. Even though it comes into the affordable scheme under the scheme of Housing for All Urban or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme, as the case may be, but is a work contract which is not specifically qualified from exemption. Therefore, such services attract GST. Such services attract the GST in the hands of DLF Limited. The taxable supply. Liable for GST, DLF Limited liable to pay GST on such work contract, even though he constructed houses under the scheme of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme. Got the clarity, my dear sir? Any difficulty? Please make a note of this, please. Yes, all of you completed, my dear. Criteria to satisfy from claiming exemption under the scheme. It should be a construction or repair of housing project comes under affordable scheme, namely Housing for All Urban or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme, and supplier should be supplied pure labor service, qualify from exemption. Got the clarity, my dear sir? Furthermore, I am bringing exemptions on construction supply of services. If you look on the screen, single residential unit construction services where provided pure labor services only qualify from exemption. It should be a construction of single residential unit. Supplier should be supplied pure labor service, qualify from exemption. Got the clarity, my dear sir? They very clearly said here, it should not be a residential complex. What do you mean by a residential complex? My dear sir, one upon the other, on vertical manner, houses are constructed is a residential complex. Not only vertical manner construction, multiple floors, but also identical houses constructing horizontal manner. Nowadays, builders are coming forward and offering independent villas. There are 20 villas, all are identical nature. That cannot be called as single residential house. Single residential house means like this. For example, my dear, this fellow, being a professor in Jawaharlal Nehru University, taken voluntary retirement, VRS. I got 50 lakhs of rupees compensation under VRS scheme. With that, in my own land, constructing for me single residential house, where I appointed you to construct single residential house where you provided only pure labor services to me. Your output supply free from GST. I mean to say that it should not be a residential complex. Residential complex may be one upon the other, vertical or it may be horizontal, exemption not applicable. Got the clarity? How to understand single house? Like this. Single house means furthermore, like this. Single house. It may be includes duplex, but it cannot be multi-floors. First floor, second floor comes, concept of single house eliminated. Will attract GST. Got the clarity, my dear sir? Examples I am going to bring here for a kind consideration. You will understand now. Look on the screen. Example 1. You will answer. Raj Builders is constructing a 2-floor residential house. Is taxable or exempted? Tell me. Taxable or exempted? Well, taxable, my dear, because 2 floors cannot be called as single residential house. Therefore, attract the GST. Quickly make a note of this, please. Shall I proceed further? Quickly make a note of this. Very simple. 2 floors cannot be called as single residential house. Therefore, taxable. Further, example 2. Let us see how many are going to answer this. Rana Contractors undertaken pure labor contract to repair a single residential house owned by Mr. Rafi. Is it taxable supply or exempted? Well, taxable, my dear, because it is not meant for construction. It is repair service. Repairing of a single residential house attract the GST. Exemption given only for construction of single residential house where pure labor service is exempted. Here, repairing services, well taxable for kind consideration. Please make a note of this. Yes, the given activity is a taxable supply and GST will be levied. Got the clarity? Please make a note of this. Quickly record in the notebook. Yes, sir. All of you recorded, my dear sir. Furthermore, example 3. Let us see how many of you people are going to answer this. Example 3. Ram Contractors undertaken to construct new single shop for XN company. Taxable? Yes. There you are. Well taxable because it is not a residential house. Therefore, the given activity is a taxable supply and the GST will be levied. Example 3. Please make a note in your notebook. Yes. You have to have scrupulous alert and activeness. You should not neglect to record. Small things makes perfect. When I am going to take up comprehensive examples, applications, these and all helpful to you to answer complicated areas. Further referring to you, my dear sir. My dear friends, now I am bringing to notice taxation on construction sector where exemptions not available. Here, I will bifurcate broadly two categories. Construction of commercial construction contracts, on the other hand, construction of residential nature contracts. Undoubtedly, construction of commercial construction contracts will attract the GST at the rate of 12%, avail the ITC on input goods, input services and capital goods. On the other hand, if you talk about residential construction contracts, where I will bifurcate in two parts, two subparts. One is comes under the housing projects, comes under affordable scheme. Another housing construction contracts comes other than affordable scheme. What do you mean by affordable scheme here? Just now I referred to you under Housing for All Urban Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, construction of residential complexes called as affordable scheme, where we have certain conditions satisfied by the builder or promoter. They are liable to pay earlier 12%, thereafter 12% reduced to 8%, 8% further reduced to now 1%. On the other hand, construction of residential complexes which are not come under affordable scheme, earlier the rate of GST was 12%. From 1st April 2020 onwards, rate of GST has been revised to 5%. How and all? First I will give certain legislative history here, then I will make presentation. Taxation of construction sector is as follows. Now look on the screen, my dear. Any housing construction comes under Housing for All Urban Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme, we called as housing projects comes under affordable schemes. Housing constructions under the Housing for All Urban Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we technically called as scheme under the affordable scheme. Means the common man can afford to pay amount for such houses. Here, under this given scheme, there are so many beneficiaries like in situ rehabilitation of slum areas or otherwise CLSS, credit linked subsidy scheme, CLSS, credit linked subsidy scheme, or economically weaker sections, for them construction of houses, affordable houses, or middle income group level 1 or middle income group level 2, like this. For the benefit of them, houses constructed under the affordable scheme, earlier the rate of GST was 12%, which has been reduced by deducting 1/3 of 12%. By deducting 1/3 of 12%, namely 4%, they deducted and asked the builder to pay 8% if they provide works contract services. You know, pure labor service exempted. I am talking about taxable only. Thereafter what happened? This 8% GST split into two parts. If it's a housing project falls under affordable scheme, then satisfy the conditions and liable to pay GST just 1%, which is with effect from 1st April 2019 onwards. 1st April 2019 onwards, law of the land says that you pay 1% GST if it is under the Housing for All Urban scheme or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme by satisfying some other conditions which I am going to explain to you, don't worry at all. If not 1%, that means not satisfy the conditions, but housing project may fall under affordable scheme or not, then in that case you have to pay GST at the rate of 5%. 2.5% CGST, 2.5% HGST. Sir, when the GST was 12%, avail ITC. It may be 12% GST where other than affordable scheme, or it may be 8% GST, or it may be 8% GST, which is affordable scheme. As the case may be, that time in both the cases ITC allowed. In both the cases ITC allowed. Got the clarity, my dear sir? However, from 1st April 2019, are you with 1% GST or are you with 5% GST, as the case may be? In both the cases, ITC not allowed. Got the clarity, my dear sir? How to understand this will be explained to you with the help of diagrammatic presentation. For the timing you understand, housing project prior to 1st April 2019 was 12%. Affordable scheme 8%. ITC allowed. From 1st April 2019, housing projects 5% GST. Such housing projects falls under affordable scheme 1% GST. 1% or 5%, as the case may be, ITC not allowed. Got the clarity, my dear sir? Any difficulty up to this, my dear sir? You don't worry, just understand this. I am going to explain to you elaboratively. Furthermore, with the help of diagrammatic presentation. Here one difficulty arises. Sir, a project is called ongoing project, commenced prior to 1st April 2019, which is not complete on 1st April 2019. From April 1st 2019 onwards, they are liable to pay what rate of GST? They are constructing housing project. May not going to come under affordable scheme. In that case, they have the option. Continue to pay 12%, avail the ITC, or pay 5% forego the ITC. If such a housing project falls under affordable scheme, then satisfy the conditions. If so, such ongoing projects on 1st April 2019, they may opt 1% to pay GST by foregoing the ITC, or they may continue to pay 8% by availing the ITC. For ongoing projects, this option has been given. For all new projects commencing on or after 1st April 2019 onwards, has to pay GST affordable scheme housing project 1% by satisfying conditions. If not, 5% GST, which is mandatory in nature. ITC is not allowed for builder or promoter. Got the clarity, my dear sir? The same I am presenting here with diagrammatic presentation is as follows. Now look on the screen, my dear sir. Construction supply from 1st April 2019 with amended provision I am presenting here. First, identify what type of project it is. Comes under housing project, namely, is it residential nature or a commercial nature construction? If you say for decision making housing project, no, then commercial project. If so, liable to pay GST, as just now I said to you, 12%. Avail the ITC. Yes, go ahead with that. 12% pay GST, avail the ITC. You construct the shop or shopping complex, go down, warehouse, like commercial constructions, attract 12% GST. Avail ITC. Just now I said to you. On the other hand, if it is a housing project, yes sir, then be alert. Falls under affordable scheme. Affordable scheme means what? Affordable scheme means comes under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme or Housing for All Urban scheme. If it is so, this particular housing project comes under such affordable scheme? Question mark. For the given question, if you say no, not a affordable scheme, is a housing project, but not falls under affordable scheme. Housing project not falls under affordable scheme, not comes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, not comes under Housing for All Urban scheme, but housing project. In that case, pay 5% GST for all projects commencing on or after 1st April 2019, not avail the ITC. Is it clear? Or pay 12% for ongoing projects on 1st April 2019, continue to pay 12%, avail ITC. Is it clear? On the other hand, if it is housing project, also comes under affordable scheme of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or otherwise Housing for All Urban Mission scheme. If it is so, then have you avail the ITC or not avail the ITC? If you avail the ITC, that means you may be ongoing project on 1st April 2019, resulting that you are availing ITC by paying 8%, now continue to pay 8% because we want to avail the ITC. If the ongoing project of a housing project falls under affordable scheme, not availing ITC, then satisfy the following conditions. Look here, conditions one should satisfy. If this housing project falls under affordable scheme, where ITC is not availed by a builder, should also satisfy carpet area of a flat in non-metro should not exceed 90 square meters. What do you mean by carpet area? From wall to wall inside of a house is called as carpet area. Such a corporate area in non-metros should not exceed 90 square meters of a plot and whose value should not exceed 45 lakhs. In case of metros, such corporate area of a plot should not exceed 60 square meters and the value of which per plot should not exceed 45 lakhs. In such case, pay 1% GST or otherwise, if you not satisfy the conditions, pay 5% GST. Now the important point here is, what do you mean by, in the given case, what do you mean by metropolitan cities? Where per flat carpet area should not exceed 60 square meters. Metropolitan cities now explained by the GST Council is as follows, which includes Bangalore, Chennai, New Delhi. New Delhi includes National Capital Region, which comprising Noida, Greater Noida, Ghaziabad, Gurgaon and Faridabad. Further, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Mumbai, whole of Mumbai metropolitan region comes under the metropolitan capacity. If so, where per plot should not exceed 60 square meters carpet area and that flat value should not go beyond 45 lakhs. In that case, satisfy the condition, pay 1% GST. If not, you have to pay GST rate of 5%. Got the clarity, my dear sir? Look on the screen. All new projects which are commencing on or after 1/4/2019 as a housing projects liable to pay 5%. If comes under affordable scheme by satisfying the conditions, pay 1%. But such a builder or promoter not eligible to avail ITC. Be careful. Any difficulty, my dear sir, it is clearly given in the material for your kind consideration. Is the way in which construction supply of services taxation takes place. Its application, numeric examples, by inviting the attention from the RTP, MTP or past suggested questions of CA CMA CS are available under the chapter called as value of supply. There we work out the applications of this. Got the clarity, my dear sir? At this point of time, I am going to conclude taxation on construction sector, a quick recapitulation of exemptions. If it is a pure labor contract services under this affordable scheme of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Housing for All Urban scheme, qualify from exemption, which may be a construction, which may be a particular repairs and maintenance services, which includes original works under the beneficiary-led individual. Beneficiary-led individual means evacuating persons from one place and constructing for them at a separate place pakka buildings called as beneficiary-led individual schemes. Further, in situ rehabilitation schemes, slum area, evacuating the persons from that place, in the same place constructing pakka buildings called as the in situ rehabilitation schemes comes under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Housing for All Urban Yojana scheme, pure labor services free from GST, or a single residential house construction, pure labor services exempted. Thereafter, if it is a works contract services or a construction services, attract the GST. Construction nature of service when will come into picture means where the value includes land, material and labor, we call as construction services, which now presently attract 12% GST for commercial nature or residential nature 5% GST. If it is affordable scheme of housing project, by satisfying the conditions, 1% GST. Got the clarity, my dear friends?